I'd like to thank everybody for coming down tonight. I know this location was a little bit out of the way, but it's definitely worth it. This is a beautiful area here and a lot of locals, and I'm specifically going to be just talking about local locations tonight. All right, this is the striped bass rule book. Must fish deep at night or cloudy days. Troll wire and bunker spoons 2 or 3 days before or after new or full moon. Never fish slack. Must use fluorocarbon leader. You know what I think about this rule book? That's it. We have an unbelievable area in the North Shore. Okay? We have an amazing harbor. In these harbors, they're all sheltered, and we have a ton of bait fish that congregate in this area, and they stay in there for protection. So, because of that, all these striped bass and bluefish and fluke are going to come into those areas because, you know, first of all, the big striped bass are very lazy. So, if they can get an easy meal, they're going to come in without not having to go into the sound. As far as a lot of people say you can only catch big bass at night. It has to be a cloudy day. Well, let me tell you something. I have twin boys. I'm a mom. That comes first before my business. I can only fish during the times that I can fish. And that's only during the bright sunny day. The bright sunny day is when I catch all of my striped bass. So now, let's say you're fishing for fluke and you're catching a couple of bluefish. Their bellies are filled with sand eels. We can't get sand eels. They're really hard to get. Don't even bother. But they are going to puke up all these sand eels all over your boat and all over you. Make a pile of them. I collect cups of them. So now you have these fresh sand eels that they just spit up that are huge. Put them on your hook and send them back out. That is the best bait. They're fresh, they're bloody, they're oozy, they got the scent of the other fish on them. Do it. Spit up sand eels. Great bait. And then I start to swoop around and come in. When you're coming in, you're going to take your foot and step on the bottom of the net. Although the net is weighted, it leaves a 6-inch space. No matter how tight you tie this to the floor on your stick, it leaves a 6-inch space, and all your spearing and your killies are going to go under the net. So when you're ready to start coming in, step on the bottom of that net, and then you're just going to have to step it, and come in. When I am anchored up, I like to go behind the dorsal fin because he's going to do this on the top of the water. If I'm not on the hook and I'm drifting, I'm going to either hook him through his nostrils or just up his mouth and come up the top. Because then, you know, this way you're drifting and the presentation will be better. This is a sandworm digger. If you do not have one of these, you can just use a pitchfork. If you don't have a pitchfork, just use a shovel. Whatever you have. And the way you're going to get a sandworms is you're just going to go out at low tide and you're going to look for the muddiest beach that you can find. Something that has a little bit of rocks. You're going to do one dig down, flip it over. If that mud does not stink, you're not in the right spot. No, go to another spot. You need to smell that stink, low tide stink. Then you got to find a couple of steamers mixed in. Once you find the steamers and the stink, that's where the sandworms are. These little, these actually stink bad. They sell these fake ones. If you can't get them, I've used these when I was in a jam. If I had a fish at high tide and I couldn't get worms. For striped bass, these work pretty good. It's kind of like filet mignon to a striped bass. I mean, no matter how, you know, if the bass are finicky and they're not feeding on anything, you give them a sandworm and they eat it. When we first start off fluking, when we can fluke, they're not that aggressive in the beginning. So all you're going to do is cast out your bucktail and you're going to work it slow. You're just going to have contact with the bottom and you're just going to do a little tweak every couple of seconds. As the water temperature goes up, you're going to work your bucktail much more aggressive. That's when I go like this, and I'm doing this constantly. I don't stop. Because by that time, there's so much bait fish in the water, and it's doggy dog out there. So you want them to hit your bait over, you know, all that other bait that's out there. So I'm going to work it like this. So when that striped bass is circling, where let's say we have a live bait on top and he's flip-flopping, when that striped bass hits it, he's playing with it a little bit. Now he's got it in his mouth, and he's not like hitting it aggressively very quickly. So what I like to do is just put it in free spool, let him take it, then I will engage, and I like the flexibility in the mono when I'm setting on a striped bass. A lizardfish hangs out with begals. It looks just like an eel, but it has a diamond-shaped head and it has teeth like a barracuda. It's a little under a foot long, but it's a great bait because it looks just like an eel. Gosh, there's so many different brands now. There's finesses. This is just a grub. It's just a plain white grub. But I like that tail action. This is a curly tail. That just looks really great in the water if you're reeling it in nice and slow. Just put a lead head on it, you know, 1/4 ounce, 1/2 ounce lead head. These work fabulous in the spring. And the only time you can really use these is in the spring, because once the bluefish come in, it just gets destroyed. This is my other lure that I use. It's just a paddle tail Panther Martin swim bait. These are an incredible striped bass lure in the back bay. If I'm going to use a plug, okay, only time I plug fish for striped bass is at dusk. Dusk and outgoing tide, striped bass in the eelgrass, any kind of drain is when I will use a plug, only at night. You know, everybody says that you're supposed to use black at night. I don't. I mean, I do have black plugs. I do use them, but I catch them at night with any single color I use. So if I had to pick one color, I do like the one I have, which is the chartreuse and white. In the springtime, when I striped bass fish, I'm going to use either those swim baits, because the first bass that are going to come into our area are going to be schoolies. We're going to have a couple of weeks of schoolies, and then after that, the big girls are going to come in. And then that's when I'm going to use either live bait or fresh bunker chunks, bunker heads, whatever you can get. Incredible area. I don't even know where to begin here. As you notice, I have nothing written on this map.
Put a lot of X's there.
All right, I'm going to tell you guys something. I've hooked into a lot of big bass and just didn't get them up. I saw them, but you know, when you're fishing on a little 10-foot raft, sometimes it's difficult to get those big 40-pounders in. But that's why they call it fishing.
I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. The bar has been opened up again. And again, a big hand for Barbara.